Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60andMe. Thank you for being here today. Hope that you're doing okay wherever you are. We have 150 countries now represented in our 60andMe family, and I welcome you all here. We talk about topics of interest to women over 60, and today I've got a fun video for you. Well, I say fun, it may not be a word that you would describe to talk about this legacy issue, but how we can leave a legacy. Now, as we get older, we start to get very realistic about our future. And we know we have less years ahead of us than we do behind us. And so we start thinking about, what difference did we make? How do we impact the lives of other people? What is our legacy? And Paula Usre, one of our bloggers, wrote this article, which is in Securing Your Legacy, 3 ways to have an impact after you're gone. Now, we don't want to think about this, of course, and I know it's challenging, but most women I've spoke to in our 60andMe community are pretty comfortable with this conversation. I think we're realists, and we know that it's important that we plan ahead. A lot of people have made, very specific plans about their funeral and keeping all the notes about things people need to know. I've done that. I've got all of my notes in a box, and it's all very clearly marked. And you want to make it easy for people, but there's something deeper than just being the preparedness. It's also, what impact did you make, and how can you leave a legacy? Now, Paula was a director of a nonprofit at one point, and she said that they were fundraising one year, and they put a donor wall up on the I think it was in the church, but it was a donor wall, where donors can have their picture or have their name engraved on this wall. And it was by far the most successful initiative they had, because people want to be remembered. They want their name to be associated with something that they felt passionately about, and it tells that for people that they've left behind, what their priorities, what their passions and what their beliefs, their values were. And so maybe that's something that you have done. I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit about that, things that you've actually done to secure a legacy. Maybe it's giving a donation to a group or a club or an organization that's doing something that you care. Climate change, for example, or, a homeless situation, or women who might have had a difficult time getting through a marriage. There's all kinds of situations that you can support and have your name associated with those causes. But here's 3 legacy ideas that Paula puts forward, and the first one I think is pretty basic, but it's so important, and that is communication matters. Communication matters. So just thinking about the practical side of your death and the legacy that you leave with your possessions, with the things that you find valuable. She gives an example of a situation where mom died, and 2 sisters who really had not been that close and not talked to each other that much, obviously wanted to remember their mom, and so they found there was one specific locket that they both wanted. And the older sister naturally thought she was going to get it. It had been written down, but she was the oldest sister, and she took it. And the other younger sister, really could not deal with that. And for years, they didn't talk. They had a huge feud. I mean, I'm just giving one example. This is not uncommon, where things are not left in a will, or it's not made clear. Then it's really, really sad, because then it can destroy a relationship that might have been great up until that point, or at least been smooth. So Paula, the woman that wrote this article, Paula Usre, had conversations with her children, and I've done the same with mine. I've actually got a painting, you can't see it behind me, but my younger son said to me, "Mom, I really want that painting of you. That is such a beautiful picture." It's just when I was young. And so I thought, well, that's okay. I can acknowledge that. So I put it in my will. Absolutely, it's going to my youngest son. So there, that's just an example of, you just say it, just put it in paper, and it really makes all the difference in the world. So my little grandson Max, he always loves my ring. He always pulls at it and wants to wear it, and no one else cares, it's just him. So I said, "Max, this is your ring, you can have this ring." And he's like, "Oh, great." And he doesn't know what it means, or he'll probably keep it in a box, it'll get lost, who knows, but it's his, he wants it. So did you know, though, I was looking at my notes here, that only 51% of Americans have done a will. 51%, or just a little over half. And that between 55 and 64 have a signed will. So I think a lot of places you have to have a signed will. In Switzerland, you have to actually write your will in handwriting. And because in Switzerland, there's a very accepted rule that everything goes to the family. It just goes to the family. They don't ever have any problems with that because it's just the kind of the culture. But in places where that's not the case, you need a signed will. And there's so much online, just do it. It doesn't have, even if you don't have the energy or you don't have the motivation to do that, just write it out. Just a few sentences just makes such a difference. Do it. That's one thing. So that's how you can do with that. With one thing with a legacy, you make it clear with communication, a will, a document, whatever, what is going to happen to your things, to your world, to your possessions. The second thing is, and this is a really important one, and it's kind of shifting completely away from material possessions, is that whatever you have experienced and said in your life will have more weight than any other thing that you can give your children or your grandchildren or your friends or your society. It's the things you make people do. And I think it was Maya Angelou who wrote this quote. It was just so powerful. It said, people won't remember what you have said or what you've done, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And that's taking it even to a different level. It's not what what you give them or what you've done or what you even have said, but it will be how you've made them feel. And if you've made them feel good and positive and inspired and loved and and protected, then that's the greatest thing they'll remember about you. That is your legacy. And that you were a generous person, that you were a kind person. That's honestly, and what was it? I think it's the Mexican tradition where it says that after you die, you don't have a final death until no one mentions you, no one remembers you, nobody remembers or speaks about you in any way. So as long as you've left an impression on people, that they'll be sitting around the fire one day and say, oh, do you remember what Margaret used to do? Or, remember Mom did this or that? Remember that trip we took? Oh, it was so much fun. And then just you come back into their memories. So I think that's really, really important. And I want my children and my grandchildren and friends to remember, and you in the 16Me community, to remember that I have loved you, that you have given me more. You've given me more than I could ever give you. And that is a powerful thing that I hope I've inspired and given people that sense of purpose and sense of hope and also a sense of optimism about the future. I want my kids to feel like they can do anything that they want. They're not going to live a life like I have lived at all. The world is just not the same world anymore, is it? So they're going to do something completely different. But I want them to know that they're strong and that they're capable and that they're able to do this. And they've got my support, whichever path they take. It's powerful. Anyway, and this investment, says Paula, will last way beyond anything that you can put in your will, any trinket or item that you can give to them. The third thing is personal messages. This is something that some people will feel shy about, but writing a letter isn't maybe a problem. I've actually been writing notes to my kids since they were teenagers, because when I was working, I traveled a lot on planes and traveled on trains, and I just always thought, well, what if something happened to me? Like, I'm in my 40s and it's like something happens to me, they're going to be like, what? And I thought, I better write a letter. So even starting back then, I wrote letters to my kids. I've actually kept hold of them. They're kind of fun because they're always a little bit different perspective. But keeping a document that's just for this person or that person, just for them to open and read and feel that you've thought about them after you've gone. But one thing you can also do is a video. I mean, many people are so comfortable now with Zoom and videos. It's like second nature. Just put a video on and just talk with your face looking at the camera and tell them how you feel about them and how much you've appreciated being in their life and how much of a treasure and whatever else you want to say. Or forgiveness, if you have something you want to say that you're sorry for. Just those things that you can't say in person, and there are many of those. Just say what you really want to say to that individual. And also, I got a folder on my laptop, and it says, what does it say? What to read when I die. And I just put stuff in there, quotes, little things about my funeral, like I'd like to have this music or that poem or this thing, and just things to read when I die. Those letters are all there. My will is there. Just sometimes some thoughts I've had, private little envelopes to people, it's all there, and it's right on my desktop. And I've also got a copy of it on an external drive because I want to make sure I don't lose it if the computer crashed or was lost. So anyway, just some ideas. messages that you might want your family or your friends to hear. And also, I guess the last thing is to say that, Paula just says, be caring, be responsible, but don't live with regrets, move forward. Whatever it is that you're holding back, whatever there's a darkness and you don't want to share with anybody, it's okay too. It's okay. We've all got those. We've all got those little things that we don't want anyone to know, and it's okay. It doesn't matter. You just let them go. So I guess the final person to communicate with is yourself. Now, I'd like to know what you're doing, how you're approaching this. Well, first of all, what you want your legacy to be. Maybe that's a really good question. What do you think is most important when it comes to your legacy? Leave your comments below. Let's have a chat, a conversation. I think it would be really interesting and help us all to get to know each other a little bit better. But thank you so much for listening, for contributing, for being here for us on 60andMe. You are important to me in ways you'll never know. But take super good care. Stay safe and healthy and well. And let's have your comments on what you want your legacy to be. Hope it helps. Take good care, everybody. Have a super day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye for now.